I came to Mount Koya to study snow monkeys. Not spirits, not ghosts, not the whispers that coil through these ancient cedar forests like incense smoke. I came for data for behavioral notes on Macaca fuscata adapting to high-altitude winters, for footage of troop dynamics near sacred ground where humans tread softly. My reasons were scientific, my equipment precise, a telephoto lens wrapped in neoprene against the damp, a weatherproof notebook filled with grids and timestamps, a voice recorder set to capture primate vocalizations without human interference. I am a man who trusts what can be measured, documented, filed away in university archives. I believe in observable reality, in the clean separation between researcher and subject, in the idea that some places remain untouched, not by magic, but by remoteness. But the mountain doesn't care what you came for. It only cares if you're quiet enough to hear it breathe. My cabin sits deep in Wakayama Prefecture, nestled in a fold of the Kii Peninsula, where ancient cedar trees grow so tall they swallow the sky whole. Their trunks, wider than my outstretched arms, rise like pillars in a cathedral built by no human hand. Moss drapes their branches in emerald veils. Roots twist across the forest floor in serpentine patterns, smooth from centuries of rain and unseen footsteps. Mist clings to the slopes year-round, not the gentle fog of coastal towns, but a thick, cold exhalation that seeps into your bones and lingers for days. It smells of wet bark, decaying needles, and faintly, always faintly, of incense drifting from Kongobuji Temple miles away. A scent of sandalwood and old prayers carried on currents no weather vane can measure. I've been alone 7 weeks, long enough for the city self to erode like stone under constant rain, long enough to learn the silence not as absence, but as presence. Monkeys chatter at dawn sharp, barks and coos as troops reassemble after night's dispersal, juveniles wrestling in thermal pools while elders groom with deliberate patience. I've cataloged 3 distinct family groups, noted their hierarchy shifts after the alpha male vanished 3 weeks ago. None of them vocalize after sunset. That was my first clue, that something here operates by rules, no field guide documents. Wind sighs through prayer flags by noon, tattered strips of cloth strung between cedars by pilgrims, each flutter a whispered sutra, each frayed edge a prayer worn thin by devotion. The sound isn't random. It has rhythm, cadence. Sometimes it almost forms words in languages I don't know but feel in my teeth. At dusk, everything stops. Not gradually, abruptly, as if the mountain draws a single, deep breath and holds it. The monkeys fall silent mid-groom. The wind dies between one rustle and the next. Even the crows that nest in the high branches cease their raucous calls, becoming black silhouettes against fading light. For exactly 3 minutes, the time it takes a stick of incense to burn down the world exists in perfect stillness. That's when I first saw him. Day 34. I was boiling water over a hexamine stove, steam rising in a thin column that the mist swallowed within inches. The silence had just settled. I felt the shift in the air before I saw him, a cooling along my spine. The sense of being regarded not with threat, but with ancient patience. At the edge of the clearing, where ferns gave way to deeper shadow, stood an old man in tattered monk's robes, the color of dried blood, barefoot on the damp earth. Face shadowed by a wide straw hat worn smooth by rain and time, he didn't speak, didn't move. Just watched me perform this mundane ritual, boiling water, measuring tea leaves, waiting for the clock to tick past the mountain's breath hold. I bowed slightly the way I'd seen pilgrims do, near stone shrines along the trail, hands pressed together, not in prayer but in acknowledgement, not worship, recognition. He vanished like mist burning off at sunrise. Not with a flicker or fade, simply ceased to occupy space, as if he'd been a trick of light and shadow all along. But the air where he'd stood remained cold long after, and the steam from my pot bent away from that spot as if repelled by invisible breath. That night, I found my thermos outside the door. I'd left it inside, empty, beside my sleeping mat after the last sip of coffee. Now it sat centered on the wooden step, cap screwed on tight, still warm to the touch. I unscrewed it slowly, full of hot green tea, not coffee, not my brand of instant granules bought in Osaka, but the kind sold at Kongo-Buji Temple, bitter, earthy, with the faint mineral taste of mountain spring water, served to pilgrims in chipped ceramic bowls as part of their alms round. I didn't drink it, poured it carefully onto the moss beside the step, a gesture I didn't understand but felt compelled to make. The steam rose in a straight column until it touched the mist, then vanished as if absorbed. Next morning, my field journal lay open on the porch. I'd closed it the night before, tucked under my pillow. Now it rested on the damp wood, pages weighted by a smooth river stone. Open to yesterday's entry. Troop beta foraged near thermal springs. Juvenile male exhibited play behavior with floating leaf. Weather, overcast, 4C. Below it in my handwriting, same black ink, same pressure on the downstrokes, a new line. The mountain remembers those who listen. I never wrote that. But the slant of the T's, the slight hook on the Y, mine. Uncannily, impossibly mine. I ran my fingers over the letters. The ink was dry, hours old. Yet the page smelled faintly of incense. 2 days later, needing supplies and a reminder of the world beyond mist, I hiked to Okanoin, the cemetery of 200,000 souls. The path winds 2 kilometers through cedar forest, lined with over 10,000 stone lanterns donated by families across 8 centuries. Moss blankets every surface lantern's gravestones, the stone statues of Jizo that stand sentinel with offerings of red bibs and coins at their feet. Even at midday, light barely penetrates the canopy. The air grows colder with each step deeper into the necropolis. Pilgrims move in silence here. Cameras stay in pockets. Voices drop to whispers not out of fear, but respect for the sheer weight of accumulated memory in this soil. Halfway down the path, where the lanterns glow with a faint bioluminescence even in daylight, a trick of lichen and longing, I saw him again, the old monk, kneeling before a weathered grave marker so ancient its inscription had worn smooth, placing a single persimmon on the stone with deliberate care. The fruit was impossibly ripe, deep orange, skin taut with sweetness in a season when no persimmons should exist this high. I called out softly, "Sumimasen." He turned. Slowly, the straw hat tilted just enough for shadow to deepen beneath its brim. No face. Just darkness where features should be. Yet I felt his gaze not with my eyes but in my chest, a pressure like deep water, ancient, patient, without judgment. He raised a hand, gnarled fingers like cedar roots, and pointed not to my heart but to my throat, to my voice. The instrument I'd used to record monkey calls, to narrate field notes, to fill silences with human noise. Then he walked into the trees. Not along the path. Straight into the wall of cedars, where no trail existed. I ran to the spot, heart hammering. No broken branches, no disturbance in the moss. Only a single persimmon leaf resting on the path where he'd stood, veins glowing faintly gold in the dim light. That evening, back at the cabin, I checked my gear meticulously. Tent secure, food stores intact, camera batteries charged, everything accounted for. Except my spare gloves, the thick wool pair I kept sealed in a Ziploc for emergencies. In their place, folded neatly on my sleeping mat, lay a pair of straw sandals, worn smooth by centuries of feet, the bindings frayed but strong. And tied around the toe strap, a length of twisted rice straw rope, shimenawa, sacred boundary rope, used to mark places where kami spirits dwell, where the veil between worlds grows thin. Someone was telling me plainly, "You're standing on holy ground. You have been for weeks. You simply lacked the eyes to see it." Last night, I woke to chanting, not from the temple miles away, from the ridge above my cabin, low, rhythmic, a vibration felt in the teeth before it reached the ears, not human voices, too harmonious, too slow. Like stones grinding deep in the earth's bones, like roots stretching through soil in real time, I grabbed my headlamp, stepped outside into cold so sharp it burned the lungs. The beam cut through mist, catching movement between the cedars. Figures in monks' robes, walking single file up the mountain slope. Silent, barefoot, heads bowed as if carrying immense weight. Pilgrims? Monks from the training halls? But their robes were rotting threads unraveling into mist, sleeves hanging in tatters. Their skin the color of wet bark, stretched taut over bones that seemed both human and not, and their feet didn't bend at the arch when they stepped. Moved with a fluid rigidity, as if walking on roots rather than limbs. Gyuki. The silent monks of Koya-san spirits of ascetics who vanished into the mist centuries ago during Sokushin Butsu rituals, still walking their eternal path of purification. Legends say they neither eat nor sleep, but walk until their bodies become one with the mountain's breath. One turned, as I stood frozen, looked at me. Not with eyes. I saw no eyes beneath the hat's shadow, but with a presence that emptied my lungs of air, held out a cup, ceramic, chipped at the rim exactly where mine was chipped from when I dropped it on granite in the Rockies years ago, inside green tea, steaming in the freezing air. The scent unmistakable. Kongobuji Temple blend, bitter and sacred. I didn't take it, didn't reach, but I didn't run, didn't retreat into the cabin and bar the door, because part of me, the part that had come here seeking silence beneath the noise of modern life, knew. They weren't here to harm me, they were here to invite me, to join the still ones who walk the mountain forever, neither dead nor alive, just present. Keepers of the breath hold. guardians of the space between heartbeats. This morning, dawn barely a suggestion behind the mist, I found my passport on the altar stone behind the cabin, a flat granite slab locals say was used for offerings long before Buddhism reached these slopes. Open to my photo. A single persimmon leaf pressed over my face, veins aligned perfectly with my features. And beside it, my hiking boots, neatly placed sole to sole, laces coiled in perfect spirals like sleeping snakes. I hadn't put them there. Hadn't even stepped outside since waking. Now I sit by the fire, writing this by the dim glow of embers. My pack is gone, my satellite phone too, not stolen, simply no longer present, as if they'd been illusions all along. But my cup remains, ceramic, chipped, steam curling in the cold air, green tea, bitter, real. I didn't make it, didn't boil water, didn't measure leaves, but I'll drink it. Because the one who left it, whether mountain spirit or the quiet truth I've spent a lifetime avoiding, knows I'm ready to be quiet. Knows I've stopped listening for monkey calls and started hearing the mountain's own voice in the spaces between sounds. Knows that some transformations require surrendering the tools that defined you. The recorder, the notebook, the voice that names things, instead of simply being with them. If you find this journal, don't come looking. Don't send search parties with radios and thermal cameras. Don't speak my name aloud on this mountain unless you're prepared to be answered. Just leave a persimmon at the base of the oldest cedar, the one with the lightning scar running its full height, where prayer flags hang even though no human has tied them in living memory. Leave it stem up as an offering, then walk away without looking back. And if you hear footsteps behind you on the trail, not the crunch of boots on gravel, but the soft whisper of bare feet on moss, don't turn, don't call out. Walk slower, make space. Let them pass. They're not lost. They're home. I set down the journal. The fire dies not with a crackle but a sigh, embers fading to ash without heat. I don't reach for more wood. Light is no longer necessary here. I can see perfectly in the dark now, not with eyes but with the mountain's awareness. The mist parts before me without wind. The cedars bow slightly as I pass. I lift the cup. The tea is still warm. I drink slowly, tasting not bitterness but belonging the mineral depth of mountain springs, the patience of stone, the quiet joy of roots drinking deep. When it's empty, I place it gently on the altar stone beside the passport. It will wait there for the next one, the one who comes listening instead of recording, the one who hears the 3-minute silence not as emptiness but as invitation. I stand. My body moves differently now, lighter, sure-footed on the rocky slope without boots, without fear. I walk toward the ridge where the mist is thickest, where the cedars grow close together like pillars in a temple without walls. Halfway there, I pause. Turn back toward the valley where Osaka glows faintly through cloud layers far below. Where my sister is probably making breakfast, humming a tune she learned from our grandmother, unaware that the silence between her notes now carries my presence. I open my mouth, no sound comes out, but the mountain carries it anyway, a vibration through root and stone and air. The apology I never spoke for leaving home. The gratitude I never voiced for her letters that arrived monthly even when I didn't reply. The simple truth, I am well. I am whole. I am where I was meant to be. The mist swirls in response. Not wind. Acknowledgement. I turn and walk into the trees. They part without sound. My feet touch earth that has never known shoe leather. And for the first time since I was a boy, hiding under the bed during thunderstorms, listening to my mother's footsteps approach, I am not afraid of the quiet. I am the quiet. I am the breath hold at dusk that makes monkeys fall silent. I am the steam rising from a cup left for pilgrims who've forgotten why they climb. I am the footstep behind you on the trail that isn't yours, yet feels familiar. The mountain breathes. I breathe with it. And somewhere in the cedar forest, a snow monkey begins to groom not its troop mate, but the air beside it as if tending to an invisible companion. As if sensing the new presence that walks these slopes now. Not ghost, not memory, but guardian. Keeper of the silence. One more thread woven into the mountain's endless breathing tapestry.